Hey guys, so what I have for you today is a look at producing this Houdini fractal in a different way than you probably have seen before. So usually when I've seen these produced through voxels and that sort of stuff, and it gives you some cool but kind of blurry results. So we're going to look at producing this with ray marching in Houdini with proceduralism, which kind of sounds like a new age religion, but it's not. Or maybe it is. I don't know. It could be. Okay, so let's go ahead and check this out. One thing you'll notice right off the bat is this is pretty high resolution. It's at 2K right now. We could bump that up to 4K, or we could go to town and even go to 8K or 16K and set our CPUs and GPUs on fire. But we're not going to do that. We're going to keep it around 2K for this, but feel free to experiment with that. Alrighty, so let's take a look at how this setup works. If I come up to my object level here, what we can see, if I zoom out here, so we can see that we've got a bunch of cameras, and all these cameras are actually generating this Mandlebrot from a bunch of different angles, and then we're combining these as a point cloud. So if I come in here and I turn on camera 1, we'll just take just the first camera. What you can see is this is generating a point cloud or a geometry, if we turn that off, from that camera angle. So if I turn that point cloud or that point display off, we'll see that this converts to geo. And you can see how high res this is. It's actually really cool. I'm going to go ahead and turn this back on for a second. And I'm going to turn this down, maybe to 512, just something lower. So it's just a little lighter, just to demonstrate this. And if I come to camera 1, if I take this camera and let's say I move it, you can see what the point cloud is doing. It's coming and filling up wherever this camera is looking at. So this is a ray march, and so this fractal exists in 3D space, and wherever we put our camera, it's going to ray these points against where that fractal mathematically exists. So that's ray marching. Let's put all this back. So there it's back into the correct position. And as you can see, we've got a bunch of cameras at a bunch of different angles that are going to generate a point cloud. Okay, so if we jump back in, each one of these cameras is going to produce a different point cloud or a different geometry perspective. Okay, cool. And then all we're doing is we're just merging all of that together into one point cloud. Okay, so if I come and I turn this thing on, well, in this case, since I don't have the point display enabled, it's all geometry, which is what we want. I like the point clouds when I'm trying to visualize it, but at this point, what we want is all the geometric pieces, just like this, where we've projected them. Yes, we're getting overlap, but that's okay. I don't really care at this point. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to step through this, and we're going to reverse each one of these so that we get the normal spacing in the correct direction. Okay, cool. Now you can see that those have been flipped. We're going to go ahead and add just a normal. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to come down to this add, and we're going to delete all the geometry and just keep the point. So it's going to convert that back into a point cloud. And now you can see we've got this really nice dense point cloud. And then we're going to use this point cloud surface to just essentially mesh that. And that gives us this Mandlebrot. And so that's essentially the technique. We can use this with a bunch of different fractals. Again, Shader Toy is a really cool site as far as like how to produce different fractals, and there's tons of code examples and that sort of stuff. And we can bring those over into Houdini and leverage the power of Houdini to make some really cool stuff. And so as you can see here, this is pretty high res compared to some of the other techniques that I've seen with making these with voxels. They're definitely a little more blurry than this. And as you can see, this ray marching technique just gives us a lot of potential because we can just, again, where are we at? 2K, 2048. This just gives us the opportunity to create some really high-res geometry and point clouds and make some really interesting fractals that we can um, make and play with. And then once we have this in 3D, we can put UVs on this. We can take this into Substance Painter and put really cool textures on there and start to get some really interesting renders and so forth. And so that's one of the powerful reasons why we would want to do this in Houdini and bring some of this over here. So anyways, hopefully this has been helpful, has shown you another way that we can use ray marching to produce some really cool stuff in Houdini. And yeah, I like that. That's pretty neat. All right. Thank you so much, guys. We'll catch you next time.